Revealed, how a poor maid's warning about a wife's food changed a billionaire's life forever. Sarah's hands glided over the marble countertops, leaving behind a trail of gleaming relief. Every morning, she poured her heart into the lavish high-rise where she worked, a silent witness to the luxurious lives of its residents. As she scrubbed, her thoughts drifted across borders, longing for the laughter of her children in Mexico. They were models of determination, shining through her every effort here in San Francisco, a city with grand dreams but also deep divides. On the other side of the apartment walls, Jack Timmons, the billionaire she admired from afar, sat in his sprawling dining room. He was a man who lit up any room he walked into, but lately, shadows clouded his face. It worried Sarah to see him grow weaker, almost like a candle flickering in the draft. Each meal she prepared, lavishly plated and presented, seemed to suck the energy from him, rather than nourish. She noticed how the weight of luxury pressed down on him, suffocating the vibrant man he once was. Laura, Jack's glamorous wife, seemed perfect, always impeccably dressed, always with a picture-perfect smile. Yet, as Sarah cleaned the kitchen, she began to notice something unsettling. Laura was slipping unhealthy additives into Jack's meals under the guise of gourmet dining. Every granule seemed to dim Jack's vitality a little more. Morality gnawed at Sarah, an ache in her chest that grew with each observant glance exchanged with Jack. Did she have the right to jump in? To risk everything for a man whose world she could only glimpse? Her heart screeched against her very instincts. If she spoke up, she might lose the lifeline that supported her from across the border. Her paycheck. As Jack and Sarah shared brief, meaningful moments he's often lost in thought, and she, a supportive glance away, the connection slipped deeper into something tender. Sarah desperately wanted him to see the truth, to protect him from his own life. Would loyalty guide her, or would it push her to speak? Just when she decided action was inevitable, chaos erupted. Laura caught Sarah staring during one of Jack's meals, and an unexpected confrontation left Sarah trembling. Laura's words sliced through the air like glass, making Sarah feel small and powerless. With Jack caught in a storm brewing within his own home, he seemed oblivious to the drama enveloping him. His loyalty wobbled, caught between the woman he thought he loved and the pulse of concern for his well-being, inching toward Sarah's truth. Jack's lavish life began to unravel, revealing discontent creeping through every corner. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The stakes surged higher as Jack finally surveyed the widening breach looming between him and Laura. Could he choose to confront the truth, or would he remain ensnared by her facade? Sarah, heart pounding with every fear and hope, felt the weight of her responsibility swell. In this moment of jitters, a crack formed in her armor. It would lead to a confrontation neither expected, and the life-altering choices laid bare for Jack to see. What would happen when the walls of silence finally came crumbling down? As uncertainty gripped them both, the threads of their intertwined lives dangled precariously. Would the truth save Jack, or would it entrap Sarah in her quest for justice? The quiet of the kitchen was shattered the next morning. Sarah stood at the stove, preparing Jack's usual breakfast, but her mind was a whirlwind. She hadn't slept much, haunted by yesterday's confrontation and Laura's sharp words that cut deep. The ticking clock on the wall seemed to mock her, each second felt heavier than the last as she stirred the eggs, the rich smell blending with the bitter taste of nerves. Jack entered, looking weary but still handsome in his disheveled shirt. His smile was weak, and Sarah felt a pang at the sight. "Morning," he said, glancing at the breakfast laid out in front of him. "Good morning, Jack," she replied, forcing a cheerful tone that felt like wearing a mask. "I made your favorite." He took a seat at the table, his gaze flitting between the plate and the window, where the sunlight struggled to break through the fog. For a moment, they shared silence. There was comfort in it, but more so, an unspoken tension that made Sarah's heart race. "Sarah, can I ask you something?" Jack's voice broke through her thoughts, his eyes piercing with an intensity she hadn't seen before. "Of course," she managed, her pulse quickening. He leaned forward slightly. "Is there something going on that I don't know about? With Laura and the food?" The way he asked made it clear he hadn't simply stepped into this conversation by coincidence. Her heart sank. She wanted to be honest, but the fear of losing everything clawed at her. "I am just here to serve you," she stammered, avoiding his gaze as she fiddled with a dish towel. "Really?" He leaned back, reassessing her. "You don't seem like the type to keep quiet." A hint of curiosity mixed with concern flickered in his blue eyes. Sarah felt the fissure grow deeper. For every moment they had shared, the laughter blooming in the kitchen, now loomed doubt. There was something about Jack that stirred her spirit. She wanted to scream the truth to him, to save him from the web it appeared he was caught in. But the fear of consequence, the weight of her choices, held her back. "I just want you to be well, Jack," she finally confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. His brow furrowed as if trying to read the silent language of her emotions. "Well, I don't feel well. And I think it's time for a change," he stated with newfound determination. "I need to know who's really looking out for me. Is it you, or Laura?" The word struck like a thunderclap in the tiny room. Sarah felt her breath catch. How could she survive this moment? "You have to trust your instincts, Jack," she urged, a swell of emotion rising through her. "Don't let the glitz cloud your vision. Love shouldn't hurt you." At that moment, Jack's expression softened, but doubt lingered in his features. "But what if I've been blind to everything?" That question hung in the air, charged with tension. Suddenly, the door swung open, and Laura strode in the embodiment of elegance, but with an air of control. Her eyes narrowed at the sight of the two of them, the ease broken like fragile glass. "Jack, we need to talk," she demanded, her voice laced with an authority that turned the atmosphere icy. The air crackled with unspoken words. Sarah felt panic rising within her. Would the truth finally emerge, or would they all be swallowed by lies once more? As Jack looked between Sarah and Laura, he was faced with a choice that would define his future. Will he uncover the hidden dangers in his life, or will he retreat further into deception? The moment hung, and Sarah's heart raced. It was now or never. Would she risk everything to push him toward the truth? The tension in the kitchen was palpable. Laura's presence shifted the atmosphere entirely, charged with an intensity that seemed to wrap around Jack like a vice. Sarah held her breath, her heart pounding in her chest. Jack's eyes darted back and forth, caught between the woman he had shared so many moments with and the woman who seemed to care for him deeply, but whose intentions felt tangled. "What's wrong, Laura?" Jack finally asked, his voice cracking just slightly. She pursed her lips, launching into a rehearsed smile too bright to be genuine. "I just heard some concerning things about the kitchen staff," she said, her gaze flicking toward Sarah. She was painting a picture with words, sketching doubt with every syllable. "It might not be safe to eat anything made here without knowing the source." The insult landed, casting shadows on Sarah's transparent facade. It shook her more than she wanted to admit. Her throat tightened, and instinctively, she stepped forward, heart racing. "Jack, that's not true." "I would never hold on, Sarah," Jack interrupted, his brows knitting in uncertainty. "What kind of concerns?" With a calculating tilt of her head, Laura leaned closer, lowering her voice as if sharing state secrets. "I heard there was a new ingredient being used, something that could make you sick. I just want to protect you, you know." Sarah felt her insides churn. The lie dripped like poison, and Laura's manipulations twisted her anger into a palpable force. "Jack," she insisted, her voice stronger now, "I've been here for years. You've always trusted me to take care of you. Why would I suddenly try to hurt you?" Jack looked at her, his eyes catching hers for the first time since Laura arrived. I want to believe you, then do believe me. Sarah shot back, her emotions boiling just under the surface. You have to see what's happening. Laura isn't just concerned, she's trying to control you. Jack's gaze faltered, and for a moment, the hold Laura had on him slipped. But then she reclaimed the moment, moving closer to Jack, invading his space with the charm he once found alluring. Let us not get carried away, Laura interjected, a false calmness in her tone. This is about your health, Jack. You know how difficult it can be out there. The reminder of the world beyond their home broke the tension, even momentarily. Jack's shoulders slackened, and he glanced at the window where the fog seemed to lift just a little, revealing a hint of blue sky. Yet Sarah could see it, the uncertainty etched into his features, the doubt creeping back to overshadow their connection. Maybe we should just talk about this later, he murmured, sounding uncertain, caught between two forces he didn't fully grasp. No. We need to talk about it now, Sarah pressed urgently. You deserve to know the truth, Jack. She's been manipulating everything around you. Laura stepped back, eyes flashing with indignation. And you're supposed to be the saint here? Just a maid, trying to ruin everything I've built for us? Stop. Jack said suddenly, raising his hands as if to halt the chaos around him. Both of you, just stop. The word echoed, wrapping around the room like a fog, and for a short instant, silence reigned. Sarah could feel her heart racing, the stakes higher than ever. She took a breath, ready to push further. Jack, this isn't just about us. This is about your life, your health, your happiness. He turned to her, desperation etched in his features. I need to know what's real, Sarah. All of it. The weight of his words hung heavily in the air, drawing both women's attention squarely on him. Could this moment lead to a breakthrough, or would it become just another moment lost to lies? As he stood there, caught in a storm of emotions, Sarah quietly wondered if she had the strength to reveal everything. What would it mean for her? For him? Suddenly, Jack's phone buzzed on the table, slicing through the silence, its vibration breaking the tension. He glanced down, and a frown crossed his face. It's my lawyer. Their eyes locked in that suspended moment. Where would this path take them? Now. What revelations awaited them? Would Jack finally be free from Laura's web, or was this just another storm waiting to strike? Jack stared at the phone, his heart racing as doubts swirled in his mind like fallen leaves in a gust of wind. The power of Laura's words hung heavily, much like the gray clouds outside, and despite the tumult, he felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. Maybe I should take this, he said, moving away from the charged atmosphere of the kitchen, seeking refuge in the hallway. Sarah's eyes followed him, her heart squeezing with uncertainty. She could only stand there, wrestling with her own thoughts. Was she doing this for Jack, or was it for herself? Did she think she could bear the weight of everything alone? On the other side of the wall, the muffled sound of Jack speaking into the phone felt like a lifeline, both promising and perilous. She could hear bits of the conversation through the wooden barrier. Yes, I understand. It's urgent, we need to discuss the dinners. Laura, her breathing turned shallow. Was he talking about Laura? The very woman who turned their world upside down? She felt an urgency take hold of her again. What if he didn't come back? What if this moment, this affirmation of hope, slipped through her fingers like sand? Then she steeled herself. Jack needed her now, more than ever. Taking a step towards the hallway, she inhaled deeply, ready to confront the truth. As she approached, Jack re-entered the kitchen, his face a mix of determination and confusion. The phone slipped from his fingers, landing softly on the countertop with a muted thud. What did he say? Sarah asked, her voice a mixture of fear and hope. Jack glanced at the phone, then back at her. He mentioned that I might need to prepare for something drastic. Drastic? Something about assets, and Jack faltered, a shadow crossing his face. Sarah, I think Laura has been hiding things from me. About our finances. The revelation hit her like a lightning bolt. What do you mean? How could she do that? It's complicated, he sighed, running a hand through his hair, his brows furrowing deeply. I've trusted her with everything for so long. I didn't want to believe, but you have to believe. You can't let her control that part of your life too, she urged, her heart racing. Jack nodded slowly, his eyes searching hers for strength. I need to know if she was ever really on my side. Then we better find out. Together. He leaned in closer, the weight of their shared resolve flooding the small space between them. I can't do this without you, Sarah. With those words, the air seemed to thicken again, a new shift taking place not just in the kitchen but in their relationship. They were no longer just a maid or a hesitant ally, they were partners drawn into the heart of a storm. As Jack reached for her hand, their fingers intertwined with a fierce determination. A smile crept onto her face, igniting a warmth that spread through her chest. We will uncover the truth, Jack. We'll figure it out. Together, he reaffirmed, his voice quiet but steady. Just then, in a stark contrast to their fortitude, Laura's laugh rang out from the adjacent room, cutting through the air like a jagged shard of glass. Jack's expression shifted immediately, the calm overshadowed by a flush of uncertainty. She's right outside. Let us not confront her yet, Sarah urged, squeezing his hand. We need a plan. He nodded, sparking a wave of adrenaline through her veins. She could feel the enormity of what lay ahead, a battle that promised to challenge everything they believed in. Between raw emotions and hidden agendas, they stood on the edge of a precipice, the line between truth and deception blurred, but they would clear the air one way or another. As the laughter echoed again, a chilling reminder of Laura's presence, Sarah leaned in closer, her heart pounding with determination. How do we start? Jack asked, locking eyes with her. A slow smile crept onto her lips, mirroring the fervor in his gaze. We start with what you know. We begin where Laura's web has grown the thickest, and we pull it all apart. Jack's brow furrowed, but the slightest glimmer of hope flickered in his eyes. Would they really be able to uncover the layers of lies? The stakes were monumental, and the path forward was unclear. Yet, as they ventured into the unknown together, a creeping sense of dread intertwined with their mission. Would the truth elevate or destroy everything they had worked for? They stood firm, ready for the battle ahead, as the looming question lingered in the air. What shocking truths would they unearth, and at what cost? With the air thick with uncertainty, Jack took a step back. He glanced at the phone where the last remnants of the conversation hung like a ghost. We have to act smart, he said, the spark of determination illuminating his features. Sarah nodded, her heart thundering in her chest. They needed to strategize, not just rush in blindly. What do you have in mind? A moment of silence stretched between them, filled with the unspoken weight of their shared mission. Let us gather evidence first. Something we can show, something tangible, Jack decided, pacing the kitchen. And we should be discreet. If Laura gets wind of what we're doing right. The thought of Laura knowing sent a chill down his spine. She can be unpredictable. Jack rummaged through the kitchen drawer, pulling out a notepad. I'll write down everything I remember, any occurrence that seems out of place. Transactions, conversations. He stopped, looking back at her. I know it's going to get messy. She felt a shadow flicker over her face. And if it does? What will we do then? I guess we'll have to trust each other and prepare for whatever fallout comes our way, he replied, his voice steady. She could see the determination hardening in his gaze, and it filled her with a mixture of hope and trepidation. Okay, I'm in, she said, her voice firm. Jack began jotting down notes, urging her to join in. They sat together at the kitchen table, fingers poised over the paper, scrambling to piece together the puzzle that Laura had woven so tightly. He started with small things, the extravagant dinners Laura insisted they host, the odd requests for money transfers, and late expenses that never made sense. I can picture her, Jack muttered, almost to himself. Pouring that sweet charm over everything, all while hiding the truth behind her smile. Sarah felt a rush of anger mixed with sympathy. "It's awful how many people can wear masks, it's all a performance for her," he remarked, his writing hurried, each word the key to their escape from deception. She jotted down her own observations, late-night calls, unexplained absences, and lies that were barely concealed. The evidence felt heavy yet liberating, a foundation for their fight ahead. As the list grew, so did the tension. The walls of the kitchen felt like they were closing in on them, and every creak made their hearts race. Every laugh that echoed from the living room felt like an ominous reminder of Laura's looming presence. "Let's take a break," Jack suggested, pushing the notebook aside momentarily, his eyes weary yet defiant. "Good idea," Sarah agreed, glancing at the clock. They had been at this for hours. The world outside their sanctuary continued to turn obliviously. Jack rubbed the side of his neck, weariness creeping in. "What if she finds out before we're ready? We could lose everything, I could lose you." Sarah reached across the table, gripping his hand. "You won't lose me, Jack. Nothing will take me away from this fight, not her, not anything." His features softened slightly, and in that moment, a flicker of warmth ignited amid the worry. "Thank you," he whispered, their bond solidified under the weight of uncertainty. But as they sat there, cocooned in a fragile bubble of hope, Laura's laughter echoed again, a haunting reminder of their precarious situation. Their hearts sank, and Sarah's grip tightened around Jack's hand. "Let us finish this and prepare for whatever she throws at us next," Jack declared, resolve flooding back into his voice. But deep down, a grim sense of foreboding lingered. What if the truths they uncovered shattered not just their lives, but the lives intertwined with Laura's? As they recommitted to their task, the air shifted around them, hinting at the turbulence still to come. Would they be able to piece together the truth without losing themselves in the process? The ticking clock reminded them that time was running out. They needed to act, and fast. The thrill of discovery mingled with an anxiety that churned in their stomachs. What lay ahead, hidden within the labyrinth of lies Laura had spun? The answers were creeping closer, and yet the dangers multiplied with every revelation. Would they be ready when the time came to confront the woman who had upended their lives? The sun slipped beneath the horizon, casting long shadows in the kitchen. Jack and Sarah exchanged glances, both feeling the weight of the night pressing down on them. "I should check on the living room," Sarah said, her tone betraying the anxiety gnawing at her. It felt wrong to sit in the kitchen, knowing Laura could be merely feet away, her laughter still ringing in their ears. She stood, not taking her eyes off Jack, as if to draw strength from his presence. "Be careful," Jack warned, his voice low. "I'll stay here and keep working on the notes." With a nod, Sarah moved cautiously. The floorboards creaked under her weight, amplifying her every step. She peeked around the corner into the living room, a scene painted with laughter. Laura was telling a story, her animated gestures captivating a small group of friends who hung on her every word. For a moment, envy twisted in Sarah's gut. How could someone so deceptive be seen as so charming? Laura noticed her, flashing a bright smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Sarah, come join us." The invitation felt like a trap. The warmth of that smile contrasted starkly with the chaos stirring inside Sarah's mind. "No thanks," Sarah replied, forcing a smile of her own before retreating back to the kitchen. The laughter faded as she shut the door softly, the sound echoing in her ears. Jack looked up, concern etched on his face. "What did she want?" "She called me over. Tried to pull me into her world of charm," Sarah muttered, feeling the frustration bubbling up again. When did she get so good at pretending? She always was, but now Jack sighed, pushing his notepad to the side and leaning in closer. What if we confronted her directly? Sarah shook her head, a cold sweat forming on her brow. Too risky. We need more evidence. Something we can expose her with. Their intensity ramped up as if the very air around them encouraged them to amplify their resolve. They called on their own memories, every detail, every nuance, that could serve as leads to unravel Laura's carefully crafted facade. Let us think about her past, Jack suggested, tapping the pencil against the table as if a steady rhythm might open up the floodgates of their minds. We're missing something. There has to be more. Sarah closed her eyes, trying to visualize. What if we find someone who knew her before all this? Maybe someone who can tell us how she changed. Jack's expression transformed, a hint of excitement flashing in his eyes. That's brilliant. We just need to find a way to do it without her getting suspicious. Yes. We could call some old acquaintances and see what they know, Sarah agreed, her spirit lifting with the bond of a shared purpose. It felt good to have a plan. A sense of control washed over her, if only for a moment. Suddenly, the laughter faded from the living room, replaced by a faint tapping sound from the corridor. Sarah's heart raced. What was that? Jack's face dropped, and they both strained to listen. The tapping grew louder, a rhythmic insistence that sent chills down Sarah's spine. Was Laura coming back to find them? Hide the notes. Jack whispered urgently as he slid the notepad beneath the table. They held their breath, neither wanting to be caught in their conspiratorial act. Jack motioned for Sarah to stay behind the kitchen island as the door creaked open, revealing Laura standing in the doorway. Everything okay in here? She asked, her tone casual yet laced with a hint of curiosity that raised alarm bells. Perfect, Jack responded quickly, though the falter in his voice was unmistakable. Laura stepped forward into the kitchen, her eyes darting between them, and Sarah felt the room constrict around her. The tension escalated, an unspeakable challenge lying in the air. Just tidying up. Laura pressed, a slight smile tugging at her lips, but the glint in her eyes suggested she knew more than she let on. Caught in the trap they had feared, time froze for an agonizing moment. What would Laura do once she sensed their plan? As Jack and Sarah exchanged desperate glances, a sudden determination swept over Sarah. It was now. Or never, and they had to act fast. Let us go, she whispered to Jack before stepping forward, feigning nonchalance in her voice. We were just talking about how nice it would be to plan a little reunion with friends from the past. Laura's expression shifted, her eyes narrowing with suspicion. What old friends? She asked, her tone suddenly sharp, slicing through the fragile air of their kitchen sanctuary. Jack stiffened next to Sarah, and she felt her heart begin to race again. The stakes just got higher. Would they successfully navigate Laura's questioning without revealing their true intentions? The dance had commenced, and they needed to stay 2 steps ahead. Sarah's heart drummed in her chest as Laura's gaze pierced through her, sharp and calculating. Old friends? I don't recall you mentioning anyone, Laura pressed, an edge creeping into her voice. Just some names from college, Sarah stammered, struggling to keep her composure. She sidestepped closer to Jack, an unspoken plea for support hanging in the air between them. You know how it is, planning a reunion and all that. Laura's lips curled into a mocking smile. Of course. Wouldn't he want to miss the fun? She leaned back against the counter, her casual posture belying the tension suffocating the room. Jack's eyes darted to the notepad hidden beneath the table, a vessel of their secrets. What's on that paper, Jack? Laura asked, her tone deceptively sweet. Just some notes, he replied, trying to sound unfazed. But Sarah could see him tense beside her, his hand subtly inching towards the notepad, ready to snatch it up if necessary. Laura's expression shifted, she was on to them. Notes about what, I wonder? Plans for your little reunion, perhaps? With every word, Sarah felt the skin on the back of her neck prickle. They were caught in her web, and the longer they stood there, the closer they edged towards a revelation they weren't prepared to handle. Laura, we just wanted to brainstorm ideas. You can help. Sarah blurted out, attempting a casual laugh that came out flat under the weight of her anxiety. A moment too long passed before Laura's smirk widened, a predator savoring its prey. The room was thick with suspense. Sarah could hear the muffled laughter from the living room beyond, a stark contrast to the tension coiling around her and Jack. "Let's make this simple," Laura said, her tone ice cold. "Why don't you just tell me what you really think of me?" Jack shifted uncomfortably. "We think you're great, Laura." "Do you now?" she replied, taking a step toward him, her smile unnervingly playful. Funny how great people often don't need to justify their actions. Sarah's mind raced. They needed an exit strategy. Rather than wait for Laura to pounce, she decided to take the initiative. "We really only want to reconnect with old friends. You must know a few. Maybe we could all get together sometime." Laura paused, her brows furrowing as she scrutinized Sarah. "Sure," she said after a tense beat. "But you should know I don't trust people who aren't honest with me." The threat was clear. "Honesty is crucial in friendships," Laura continued, each word measured like a gunshot. "And right now, I feel like there's a lot more to this story than you're sharing. Especially if you're talking about old friends." Sarah felt a rush of fear, a sense that they were treading on dangerous ground. She glanced at Jack and saw the same panic mirrored in his eyes. It was only a matter of time before Laura figured out what they were doing. Suddenly, an idea flickered to life. "You know what? I'm tired of tiptoeing around you, Laura. You say honesty is important. Let's be honest." Laura's smile faded, replaced by an intrigued glare. "Oh. Go on. I think you're hiding something. Something big. And I believe we're not the only ones who notice." Jack shot her a worried glance, cautioning her not to provoke Laura further. The air cracked with tension as Laura stood frozen for a moment, a mixture of shock and admiration dancing in her eyes. "That's clever," she finally said, her voice a mere whisper. Sarah's heart raced. Had she just stepped into a trap of her own? "Maybe it's time we had a more open conversation," Laura suggested, her features shifting from surprise to something darker and more calculated. "I would hate for anyone else to get hurt while we figure this out." "Wait." Jack interjected, sensing the shift in momentum. "What do you mean hurt?" Their eyes locked on Laura's, waiting for her to reveal her hand, yet uncertainty crackled in the air. What game was she playing now? An uneasy feeling crawled up Sarah's spine. Whatever was coming next would change everything. "Let's just say that sometimes the past has a way of finding its way back," Laura concluded, a chilling smile resurfacing. As Sarah caught her breath, a knot of dread tightened in her stomach. What skeletons from Laura's past were about to come crashing into their lives? This was just the beginning. Jack stepped back, visibly shaken by Laura's words. Sarah's heart raced wildly, twisting with dread. "What do you mean by that?" she asked, an edge of desperation creeping into her voice. Laura leaned in, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Oh, just that sometimes secrets have a way of bubbling to the surface, especially in this lovely little town where everyone loves to gossip." "Gossip?" Jack echoed, his brow furrowing. "What are you implying?" Laura straightened up, her demeanor shifting again. She seemed almost disconnected, as if she were enjoying the moment too much. "You really should be careful with secrets, they have a way of ruining lives," she said, her tone dropping low. The silence that followed felt suffocating. Sarah resisted the urge to look at Jack, knowing his worry would only amplify her fear. Instead, she clung to the thread of bravery she had just woven. "Laura, if there is something we need to know, people get hurt when they dig too deep." "Sarah," she interrupted, her voice syrupy sweet yet laced with a chill. "And I wouldn't want either of you to end up finding out more than you bargained for." "What are you talking about?" Jack pressed again, frustration edging into his voice. Laura's eyes glimmered with a dangerous kind of amusement. "Didn't anyone ever tell you to mind your own business?" Sarah felt her pulse quicken, the stakes rising with each passing second. "It's hard to do that when you're throwing shade our way. Are you really going to just stand there and threaten us?" "Well, threaten is such a harsh word, don't you think?" Laura mused. I'm simply stating a truth. You reap what you sow, and sometimes the crops can be toxic. Is this about something from your past? Something you think still matters? Jack challenged, his voice growing stronger. Laura's lips curled into a sly smile. Where do you think those rumors start, Jack? She gestured vaguely around the room, as if encompassing all the whispered conversations that had unfolded within these walls. Sarah exchanged glances with Jack, a silent agreement forming between them. This was getting out of hand. They needed to break free from Laura's hold. We want to let you intimidate us. We're not afraid to dig. Ah, but that's where you're wrong, Laura said, crossing her arms. You should be afraid. Because once you start unearthing old secrets, you might not like what you find or who it involves. Jack stepped forward, his voice steady. We're not looking to bring anyone down, Laura. If there is something going on that we should know, it's not just about you anymore. Laura chuckled lightly, her amusement unfurling eerily. You're right, it's no longer just about me. It's about the whole community. And you'd be surprised how much can come crashing down with just one casual inquiry. Then let us inquire, Sarah said defiantly, stepping forward alongside Jack. Maybe it's time we all had that open conversation you mentioned. What do you truly know? For a moment, Laura seemed taken aback, her expression flickering between amusement and genuine concern. And in that fleeting moment of vulnerability, Sarah sensed a shift. Laura held their gaze, and the air thickened with anticipation. Very well, Laura said slowly, her demeanor changing again, revealing a hint of a challenge. Let us play. Find out what you really want to know and be prepared for the consequences. Jack nodded, a renewed sense of resolve washing over him. We will, Laura. We're ready for whatever you're hiding. The tension in the room morphed, crackling like electricity. As Sarah and Jack braced themselves for the storm to come, a chill ran down her spine. Were they stepping into dangerous territory, or was this the beginning of uncovering the truth? But before she could voice her feelings, Laura raised a finger to her lips, silencing any further questions. Let us just say, this is only the tip of the iceberg. Sarah felt a surge of determination. They were deep in it now, and there was no turning back. What buried secrets lay ahead, waiting to resurface? What would their journey reveal? The next few days passed in a blur for Sarah and Jack. They couldn't shake Laura's eerie words, and it felt like a dark cloud had settled over them. Whispers followed them wherever they went, a constant reminder of the secrets waiting to be unearthed. Jack seemed lost in thought, and Sarah couldn't help but feel the weight of anticipation pulling her down. They met again at their favorite coffee shop, a small place with chipped tables and the rich smell of roasted beans. The bright afternoon sun streamed through the window, but inside, Sarah felt nothing but shadows. We need a plan, she finally said, breaking the silence that hung heavy between them. Jack rubbed the back of his neck, his eyes scanning the room as if searching for answers. What if we just go to Laura's house? Maybe she'll talk more if we confront her in person. It's risky, Sarah replied, biting her lip. What if she has more to lose than we think? What if she tries to scare us off? That might be exactly what we need, he countered, his gaze steady. We've come this far. We can't stop now. As the urgency of their situation began to set in, Sarah felt her heartbeat quicken. Jack's determination was infectious, yet a flicker of doubt ignited in her chest. She glanced out the window, watching the people pass by. Did they know the secrets hidden under their surface? Were they living in the shadow of the same darkness that threatened to consume her? Let us do it, she finally said, a mix of courage and fear intertwining within her. We'll go to Laura's. But we need to be smart about it. No more games. Later that evening, they made their way to Laura's house, a quaint yet towering structure on the edge of town. The garden was overgrown, wildflowers competing for space with weeds, yet there was a beauty to it that felt vibrant and alive. The atmosphere buzzed with tension, and as they knocked on the door, Sarah's stomach churned. Laura answered, her expression shifting from surprise to that familiar glint of mischief. "Well, look who decided to drop by," she said, her voice dripping with sweetness that felt anything but genuine. "Laura, we need to talk," Sarah began, stepping forward, her heart racing. "This isn't just about you anymore. You've set something in motion, and it's going to affect all of us." "Oh." Laura tilted her head, feigning innocence. "And what exactly do you think is going to happen?" Jack stepped into the room, taking the lead. "We know there are secrets here. Whatever you're hiding won't stay buried for long. We're not going to let fear stop us." A flicker of hesitation crossed Laura's face, quickly masked by her confident facade. "You really think you're ready to uncover them? Secrets have a way of biting back." The tension thickened, a silent battle of wills unfolding in the confined space. Sarah felt the air grow still as she held Laura's gaze. "We're ready," she insisted. "But we need your help. Tell us what we're dealing with." Laura leaned against the doorframe, considering their words carefully. "Fine," she said at last, her voice lowered to a conspiratorial whisper. "But know this, the truth is rarely what it seems." Just then, a loud crash echoed from behind the house, the sound breaking their standoff. All three turned towards the commotion. "What was that?" Jack asked, tension rippling through him, eyes wide in surprise. Laura's expression shifted to one of frustration. "Another mess to deal with," she groaned. Never a dull moment in this town. Fears flickered in Sarah's mind like fireflies in the dark. Was whatever lay behind the house connected to the secrets Laura was hiding? The urge to find out surged within her, but so did the fear of what they might uncover. As Laura moved to check on the noise, Sarah and Jack followed, ready for whatever danger might lurk in the shadows. They were at the edge of a precipice, and the truth, whatever it was, dared them to take the next step. Would they be able to handle whatever secret Laura tried to keep buried? And what other surprises awaited them? The aftermath of the crash was chaos. As Laura turned sharply to head toward the back of the house, Sarah and Jack exchanged glances, a shared determination igniting their souls like the flame of a newly lit candle. "What do we do?" Jack whispered, nervous tension thrumming between them. "Follow her. We can't let her out of our sight," Sarah replied, her voice steady despite the unease swirling within her. They moved carefully through the doorway, the air thick with an unspoken promise of confrontation. As they rounded the corner, a scene unfolded before them. A mangled garden table lay splintered on the ground, remnants of what appeared to have been an elaborate setup for a gathering. But what caught their attention were the size of a man crouched by Laura's garden. Clark, her longtime business partner, who had often hovered in the shadows like a specter during their meetings. His hands were stained with soil, but the real mark on his face was worry. "Oh, perfect," Laura snapped, her voice sharp as a dagger. "Now I'll need to waste time on this rather than deal with these two. Is everything okay?" Jack ventured, stepping closer. "No, not really," Clark replied, glancing from Laura to them. "These amateur gardeners have no respect for time. I was just trying to salvage it." Sarah's heart raced. This was their moment. "What were you all preparing for?" she interjected, her eyes darting from Clark to Laura, breath hitching as she could already sense the tension building in the air. Laura's eyes narrowed, and for a fleeting moment, genuine annoyance flickered across her face. "None of your business, Sarah," she snapped, the sharp edge of her voice cutting the atmosphere like a knife. "Oh, but it is now," Sarah pressed on, emboldened by Jack's reassuring presence beside her. "We're not going to be sidelined by your charade anymore. Can't you see it's all a big misunderstanding?" Laura said, her tone sliding back into that charming yet chilling veneer. Yet her eyes betrayed her, veiling the thunderclouds of fear encroaching upon them. "You two really ought to know when to back off." "That's where you're wrong, Laura," Jack chimed in, stepping closer, his voice low and steady. "People are already affected by whatever secrets you're hiding. It's time they came to light before someone gets hurt." The tension in the air peaked like a taut wire ready to snap. "You really think you're prepared for that?" Laura shot back, an edge creeping into her voice. Sarah felt her pulse quicken. Laura thrived on intimidation, and she needed to find a way to flip that script. Whatever you think you're protecting, it's not worth the lives that could be damaged. It's not worth our lives. The confrontation loomed heavier than they had anticipated, and for a moment, silence reigned over them, thick with unsaid words. Laura glanced at Clark, and through that exchange, Sarah felt the air shift. Fine. Laura finally snapped, her facade cracking ever so slightly. Let us have the talk, shall we? But don't for one second think you'll like what you discover. Jack clenched his fists, but the grim resolve on his face told Sarah they were finally on the brink of unveiling the truth. We're ready, he said firmly, and her heart swelled with pride. Laura led the way back into the house, casting a sidelong glance at Sarah. If you're so eager to know, I hope you can handle it. This isn't just about me. As they settled back into the dimly lit living room, Sarah's breath caught in her throat. This was the moment they had been waiting for, a point of no return. Laura took a seat, fingers tapping on the table, the air humming with tension. You want to know what secrets I've kept? Let us start with the business dealings you're so curious about. It's not just the cooking. It's corruption, lies, and pieces of this town that I've had to keep under wraps to protect our interests. The honesty in Laura's admission struck like a sharp gust of wind. The once immaculate image of her life began to crumble before their eyes, revealing layers of deceit buried beneath a facade of perfection. Why don't you want to share this with Jack? Sarah shot back, her heart pounding. You claim to care, yet you hide truths that affect him. Because some truths can shatter everything, Laura countered icily. And some lies are easier to digest. Jack shifted uncomfortably next to Sarah, a doubt wrestled within him, but something stubborn ignited behind his eyes. No, Laura. They're not easier. They're poison, and I refuse to let you continue taking that poison. Is that your choice, then? Laura grinned, lingering like smoke, taunting him with the very decisions he had to face. To turn against someone who has kept you afloat through all the turmoil. The tension twisted tighter than a noose, but Jack's voice rang out as steadily as a church bell. I choose to uncover the truth. No matter how ugly it becomes. Sarah felt a warmth spread through her, bolstering her courage. We'll expose the truth together, Jack. No matter the cost. Together? Laura echoed softly, the words laced with disbelief. You really think you two can stand against the storm I've built? Without waiting for a reply, she stood abruptly, the victory in her eyes suddenly dimming. Things are not what they seem, kids. You have no idea who truly holds the power here, she warned, her words hanging thick in the air. But Jack met her gaze unwaveringly. No more games, Laura. We'll find the truth even if it means taking everything down in its path. With a sharp intake of breath, Sarah squeezed his hand tighter, drawing strength from their bond. They were no longer at the mercy of Laura's words but boldly declaring their resolve to fight for their lives. As they stood there, a palpable shift occurred in the unsteady air. They may have stumbled into a quagmire of secrets, but with every moment of defiance, they solidified the roots of their collective strength. Bring it on, Laura, Jack said, his voice firm. We're ready for whatever storm you unleash. And as the darkness crept in, a thrilling sense of determination washed over Sarah. Together, they would shatter the chains Laura had forged and unveil the truth. The road would be long and fraught with danger, but they were no longer afraid. They were ready. The final confrontation awaited them, and with it, the promise of liberation and truth, or perhaps the cost of everything they held dear. Would their resolve withstand Laura's wrath? Time would tell. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive revelations. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let them know you're ready for more. Comment your reactions and feelings about this thrilling fight for truth. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.